Welcome back into another episode of HBCU Gridiron Giants. I'm your host, Ray Coleman. I thank you so much for joining us. If you joined us for the first week, we had a legend, right? And we're going to have legends every week. My job is to educate and kind of give you a little history background on some of the legends on the football field that come from the HBCU landscape. You know, we talked about it last week. My state in particular, Mississippi, we can boast and brag. We probably have two of the top five, maybe even two of the top three football players to ever do it, right? And they came from HBCUs in particular. They came in the SWAC. But even outside of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, we can even say, across the entire HBCU landscape, we have legends from every position that have shaped and molded the NFL. And that's the topic here. I want to give you names that you probably have heard of, some you may not have heard of, many that may have been before your time. But we just want to educate you and let you know the importance, the impact of HBCUs and what they have done for the game of football. Like I said, week one, we had an all-time great. In my opinion, he's my perhaps one of my favorite players, but to me, he's one of the best to ever do it. Definitely the best running back to ever do it. And Walter Payton. We talked about his college career at Jackson State and how he set a scoring record during his career, and the amount of impact that he had both on and off the field in the NFL, whether he was the all-time leading rusher when he retired, and then after he was done playing the NFL, Walter Payton Man of the Year Award for the excellence both on and off the field. So that's large shoes to fill. How do you follow that up? Well, to me, I can only follow it up with my favorite player. When I was growing up in Port Gibson, Mississippi, man, there was a guy that played at Alcorn State University. And he was not just a guy to me, he was like a superhero. Because the things that I saw him do in real time with my own eyes, I had never seen anybody, and I mean anybody, never saw anybody play the way this man played. And there can only be one. Steve McNair, Steve Air 2 McNair. I only say Air 2 because his brother Fred was the original Air. Incredible player. You haven't seen anything like it when you saw him play for the first time. And you see the numbers, man, they speak for themselves. Alcorn State University, 1991 to 1994. He was first team all SWAC every year. Every year, when you say, okay, well, what's the big deal about that? How does that match up to the big name schools, right? Well, I'm glad you asked. Steve McNair was not just the best college football player in the SWAC. No, Steve McNair was the best college football player, period. Period. The numbers speak for themselves. 6,000 yards of total offense and 53 total touchdowns. That's a season. I need y'all to understand that. That's not a career accumulation. That's a season. The man finished third in the Heisman race in 1994. That's the highest ever ranking for an FCS player, right? So a non-traditional big school. Steve McNair finished third. Should have been first. And I'm not being biased. He should have been first. He was clearly the best player. But listen, you don't have to believe me. I brought in backup for this week, all right? When I was putting together this episode, I said to myself, yeah, Ray, you're from Port Gibson, Mississippi. You saw Steve McNair play a little bit. You had one of the best seats in the house at Jack Spink Stadium down in Lorman on the reservation. But somebody had a even better view than I did. Why? Because he was literally entrenched in the program as a child, and that may confuse you, but you'll see what I mean. I am lucky to know this guy, man. I'm blessed because I reached out to him literally the day before as we tape this, and I said, hey, man, I want you to take a look at this for me to make sure that I'm, accurate in my numbers and my assessment of Steve McNair. And my guy was like, no problem. He was like, no problem. But then I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, rather than have him verify it, why don't I just bring him on? Reached out to him. My guy said yes. So we're going to bring him on right now. And this is my guy, Mario Kirksey, a childhood friend of mine. And I'm telling you, man, that's what it's all about. Having people that you can just reach out to and they will tell you yes. So Mario, first and foremost, man, thank you for joining me, man. And welcome to the show.
Man, thanks for having me, man. You called me, man. It was kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It ain't no secret. You my guy from a long time ago. So,
yes, sir.
And like I said, it's an honor that you even thought enough to, bring me on. So I really appreciate it, man.
Look, man, I look at you in this space as a subject matter expert. One, because you're a coach yourself first. So let's get into that. Give people a background of what you're doing right now, Mario.
Well, I'm currently a secondary coach at
Yeah.
Yazoo County High. This is my second year there. Prior to that, I was the secondary coach at Velma Jackson High School for 3 years. So, and I've been other places, but the last 5 years been between Velma Jackson and Yazoo County.
Yeah. When we were little, man, it's like I said, I used to think I had the best seat in the house along with everybody else. But you truly had the best seat in the house every Saturday. I can remember looking down at the sidelines and seeing guys like you and OC and Ricky. These are guys we grew up with. Their dads were coaches on the Alcorn State staff. Same for Mario. Tell them what your dad did, man.
Well, at that time, first off, we got there in '89, which was his second stint at Alcorn. He was there as a grad assistant, and then he came back full time in '89 under Coach Danzig.
Yeah.
And from '89 to '93, he was the linebackers coach. And then '94, when Coach McGowan, God rest his soul, stepped down I think he stepped down to kind of focus on baseball because he was a baseball coach also.
No doubt.
And that's when my dad kind of moved into the defensive coordinator position.
Yeah. So, man, for me, as I get older, and I've been around this sports world as a journalist, as a fan, as a student of the game, I understand how much time it takes for a coach to be one good and great at his craft, but also the amount of time that they spend on their craft. So that's a lot of time that they're away from home. But for you, man, you had that unique perspective where you were able to go with your dad to these games. You know what I mean? You were able to hang out with him at these events. And to see, to me, the greatest college football player ever, right? To see the greatest college football player ever perform every Saturday. Man, give people at home your perspective of seeing Steve McNair play.
Well, it was something that I think looking back on it, I don't think any of us, whether it be me, coaches, players, students, the university, I don't think any of us at the time kind of realized what we were watching. I don't know if we kind of, seriously, I don't know if we took it for granted because I don't know if we just felt like it was supposed to be that way. But I mean, just to be, just straight up, man, he was just a special dude.
Yeah.
He was just special. It was nothing he couldn't do at the position that he played.
Yeah.
And you think about, the story has it, he was recruited to play defensive back by the majors. Right. Now, that in itself kind of tells you how special he was.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because, from what I understand, he led the state and then had the state record in interceptions.
Yeah.
At one time. So that just kind of tell you, okay, well, he was recruited. If he was that good to go there and play DB,
absolutely.
Everybody kind of missed out on him being able to play quarterback. And I guess for Alcorn, it was kind of fortunate that Fred had just left about a year before. And he used to be around a lot and stuff like that. So Alcorn gave him the opportunity, man, and he came in and it was just, kind of the rest is just kind of history, man. But like I say, at the time, I don't think we realized what we were watching until years later, and you really never saw it again. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
Look back on it and be like, wow, we wouldn't have missed something that was just kind of historic.
Yep.
And it was just special all the way around. It was a good time down in that whole region at the time. It was just a good time.
To me, man, and you kind of spoke to it. As I watched McNair play, I can clearly remember seeing him as a child on the reservation, or when they would play the Soul Bowl in Jackson, and the one time they played it down on the reservation. I thought that's how college football was played across the board. Like for me, I knew we had Mississippi State and I knew we had Ole Miss and Southern Miss, but I didn't watch those games.
No.
Like I genuinely thought that everybody had a superhuman athlete like that on their team. And the older I get, I just realized that wasn't the case. That man was truly ahead of his time. Listen, America, world, wherever you're watching from, 16,000 yards for a career. For a career. Those are numbers that aren't duplicated today in this high-powered, no huddle, hurry up, let's throw it as many times as we can style offenses today, Mario. Like, that just doesn't happen.
Nah, it doesn't, man. Like when you say over 16,000 yards, that's at a time when, first of all, that's an average of over 4,000 yards. That's the first thing. That
Yep.
we're gonna start there. That's over 4,000 yards a season.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And in this day and time, I guess the good ones nowadays don't really play 4 years.
Right.
It's kind of hard for anybody to kind of match that. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Even with that 16,000 yards, that's talking about the leader of total offense on any level, not just FCS.
That's right.
Just Division I at the time, Division 1A at the time.
Yeah.
And FCS 1AA at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Not just Division II, Division III. This was the absolute most amount of total offense, most yards of total offense on any division, regardless of any division.
Yeah.
And that says a lot, and to think that, like I say, just to go back, man, to think that somebody missed out on him playing quarterback. My dad often says, somebody got fired behind missing out. Somebody got fired behind it. You better believe it.
Listen, it's true. It's true, man. This man's talent is I don't like to use the example of his talent is better than SWAC talent, but there were schools in this state and across this country, insert name here, that decided not to give Steve a shot. And you're right. They're looking at themselves years later like, what happened? Because they literally had the best college football player in the nation right here in Mississippi. It's insane. Listen, folks, 6,000 yards in a season with 53 total touchdowns. There's some schools out there today that don't do that in a season by themselves. The entire team. And this one man generated that type of offense. He was unstoppable. Mario, explain to people what the atmosphere was like on the reservation every Saturday, man. Like, to me, what I remember was, one, it was hard to find tickets. And two, I just remember being like, man, every week it's a sold out who's who affair down there, man. Standing room only. What were those atmospheres like for you as a kid?
Once again, the best way to describe it was just special. Like I said, it was a good time, man. And and let's say for a home game, around Thursday, start getting started. It gets started around Thursday. People start piling in the campus and everything like that. And like Saturday morning, we getting ready to go to the game. And for those who've never been to Alcorn, it's very spread out.
Yeah.
But even with it being spread out, you got cars everywhere, all over campus. I can vividly remember probably the best game I've seen in that stadium, 1994 against Southern, when he broke the.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Go ahead.
When he broke the total offense record.
Yeah.
Once again, it started Thursday. You start seeing the RVs and first of all, anybody that knows anything about Southern, I don't care where Southern is playing, they're going to be there full.
They're bringing everybody.
Like they literally, and that's hard to do at that time, but they literally took over Alcorn.
Yeah.
On Thursday. You understand what I'm saying? So, like I say, man, the atmosphere, it could literally, at that time, it could literally rival going to, and of course on a smaller scale, but going to like a Michigan game or an Ohio State game or even the Ole Miss game where you get, where the big deal at Ole Miss, you walk through the Grove before the game, the team walked through the Grove before the game. So the atmosphere was just, like I say, it was like none other. I don't think we've seen anything like that since then. And you got to think about at the time, it was nothing to, I can remember the Southern game in 1993 in Baton Rouge. Yeah. We're on the sideline. and standing there is Doug Williams and Charlie Ward. Now,
Who's
okay,
who?
right. Okay, now just to put this in perspective, we're talking about 1993. This is the year that Charlie Ward won the Heisman Trophy. All right. So apparently Florida State, who was one of my favorite college teams, apparently they were on their off week. So in his off week, he said, I guess he had been hearing about the guy, man, and he decided to journey on over to Baton Rouge just to check him out.
That's
And
crazy, man.
rumor has it now. Rumor has it. I can't confirm or deny this, but a lot of people have said that. I guess once he left, he said, "I don't care what nobody else say, but that right there, that's the best college football player in America." And this guy won the Heisman Trophy. Now,
come on, man.
you see what I'm saying? I can remember we went to Montgomery and Spike Lee was there. You know, Spike Lee was there during the time when he was filming Crooklyn.
Yeah.
Gave out a lot of, shirts promoting the movie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They went to, I think they played in the Circle City Classic in like 91 up in Indianapolis. They played Howard. You got a guy named Mr. T was in the house. So he had literally transcended just being a football player into being basically a superstar.
No doubt.
You understand what I'm saying? We're talking about a superstar, and you don't get national superstars on an HBCU level. I mean, that's just literally unheard of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he was one of the guys, well, he's probably the only guy that was able to do that. When you talk superstars, you probably talking about on an HBCU level, you probably talking about him and Eddie Robinson, just because of the fact that Eddie Robinson was so successful as a coach and all that he did, and he became the all-time, the winningest coach in I guess, regardless of division. And so like I say, when you talk superstars, you're talking about Eddie Robinson, and during his time, Steve. I can just remember, man, we would roll into town. We would always leave like late Thursday night going somewhere. And I can remember one time we rode into like Houston. So we got there at about 6 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. And believe it or not, like I say, superstar. It's like traveling with rock stars. We got to the hotel and literally it is a hotel lobby full of people waiting on us to get there. Like that is literally the kind of stuff that went on during that time.
Yeah.
Being alongside the guy, because he was just that phenomenal.
No doubt, man. Look, the story about Charlie Ward just gets me, man. Charlie Ward, for those who don't know, I know y'all may remember him as an NBA player, depending on your age. But Charlie Ward was a true dual threat. I mean, legend in college football. So if he's coming to see Steve, it's got to let you know. By the way, Steve McNair, still third all-time in rushing yards at Alcorn State University. So that goes to show you how amazing his career was on the reservation. We'll transition over now to his NFL career, man. Third overall pick in 1995 of the Houston Oilers at the time, Tennessee Titans franchise. Co-NFL MVP in 2003, shared that with Peyton Manning. Should have had it by himself, but we won't get into that. It's all right. We'll let the NFL do that to him. But again, to show Steve's impact, Tennessee Titans have been to one Super Bowl their entire franchise, history. 1999, Steve led them there 1 inch short. You got to remember that. I don't care what age you are. If you were around when that one was played, you have to remember that. Even if you don't remember, you've seen it in commercials where Dyson, the receiver, is stretching out, literally stretching to try to get that thing over the goal line, coming up short against the St. Louis Rams at the time, Kurt Warner, the greatest show on turf. What are some of your memories of Steve playing in the NFL, Mario?
Well, his pro career, I think with his pro career, he just kind of had to settle in and learn more of a pro style offense. It wasn't going to be as open as it was when he was at Alcorn.
Yeah.
So I think he did a good job. It probably took him a few years, as you saw, for him to really settle in. And I think once he settled in, you think about it, he became, one of the best players in the NFL. I mean, you can argue that at one time, during his career, he's probably the third best quarterback in the AFC behind, Manning and Tom Brady.
For sure.
And that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. He didn't, you know, he didn't make as many Pro Bowls as some may have thought he was supposed to make, but his career was very, very serviceable.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, when you consider a lot of things about his career, to me, he deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame. But that's just my personal opinion. I may be being biased, but you know, I just really believe that he deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame. When you consider the Titans at the time,
Yeah.
you know, he never really think about it. For a long time, his best target was a tight end. You know, and Frank
watch check, yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? And you had Eddie George in the backfield, and you know, so and that's not to take anything away from Dyson and Mason and
no doubt.
later on Drew Bennett, and you know, but I think at one time, you know, probably best receiver, I think when they got Yancey Thigpen that year, when they went to the Super Bowl, but he didn't even play in the game. I think he was hurt or something like that. But he just never had that receiver that could just blow the top off a game.
Yeah.
You know, and when you consider that, for him to always have them in the hunt, you see what I'm saying? And they in the divisional game and the AFC championship game and one time the Super Bowl and you know, winning that division. People forget, you know, at one time, you know, when he was in Tennessee, they owned Indianapolis.
No doubt.
With Peyton Manning there.
Yes, sir.
They owned Indianapolis. You know, so like I say, man, when you consider a lot of that, man, I think, you know, he's more than deserving of a spot. You know, now how soon that opportunity comes or that accolade comes, you know, that's up for discussion. Of course, I don't have a say in that. You don't have a say in that. You know what I mean? If we did, he'd probably be there. You know, but yeah, his NFL career was, I think it was very, very serviceable when you consider, you know, all the things that I wouldn't necessarily say against him, but all the things that he kind of had to work with.
Yeah.
Or lack thereof to work with. You know,
impact, man. His impact on the game was still felt. Look, you see the stat that as it goes across the bottom of the screen. He's still top 50 in career passing yards. This is in an age again where everything is go to the air first, right? Where numbers are becoming inflated, astronomical. We got an extra game now. The man still threw for over 31,000 yards. So that's what I mean. He figured it out. He made an impact. He reached MVP status. So he would go ahead.
And you know, I think, and this is just me watching, I think a lot of people would try to classify him as a run first quarterback.
Right.
And I don't think that's fair. I don't even think that's correct. Because a lot of times, if you watch him, you know, he may be, you know, he's very elusive.
Yeah.
But, you know, even getting away, he only ran if the opportunity presented itself to run. But even in being elusive, if you pay attention to him, his eyes is always downfield. I'm looking for a man downfield.
Yeah.
Now, if I have to run and the yardage presents itself for me to run, then I'll go ahead and take that. And that's one of the things that I think that people would get him mistaken with, you know, just to think that he was just strictly a run first quarterback. And I just don't think that was the case if you really, really watch him play.
Yeah, which brings me to my final point, man, and my final kind of talking discussion for us. You're exactly right. He's not a run first quarterback. He just had that ability to create when he needed to. In the day and age of college football, where everything is run pass option, you do have the offense set up where you can, you know, be a run first quarterback, right? How much better would this guy have been? If I'm saying 16,000 yards right now, you know, when he was in a shotgun style offense where it was run, if the opportunity presents itself, as you so well put it, what would this man have done if he was in an offense where it really was based on, you know, a run pass option or him being able to run first on a draw or a simple, you know, power sweep with the quarterback? Kind of talk us through that, Mario.
To put him in like a RPO offense, put it like this: to put him in a situation like, let's say, a Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
Right. Lamar Jackson is who you could say is somewhat of a run. He can pass the ball. Now, I'm not going to tell you. Obviously, to play quarterback, you have to be able to pass the ball.
Yes, sir. No doubt.
I'm not saying the guy can't pass the ball. He's obviously good in his own right. He's won MVP in the league. But a lot of his success is geared off of being able to go run pass option, quarterback counter, all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To me, with Steve, I think, just my personal opinion, that would kind of take away from what he could give you in the passing game. Once again, man, we talking about a guy, and I'm gonna just talk college, man. We talking about a guy that threw for over 5,000 yards his senior year. You see what I'm saying? So, why take that potential away just to allow him just to run around the place like that? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you consider that, man, it may take away from him, but then again, he can run. But I don't know if you want to just because to me, if you just do that with him, you don't really get all out of him that you could.
Yeah.
Just my personal opinion. Now,
somebody
may disagree with that, and that's fine. But just looking at it, I don't think you get all that you could out of him if you were just to put him in just an RPO offense or just make him a run first guy. Not saying that he can't run, but I think that you got to use all the tools that he has in his box. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. No doubt. No doubt. Look, that's a great insight, man. Regardless of what era you put Steve McNair in college football, he's going to be a star. He's going to be a game changer. We were blessed to see him. If you're watching this, you probably were able to see, if nothing else, clips. Again, you're going to hear me say this every episode. If you don't know YouTube, it's a great tool. It's a great tool to see these guys that we're going to be talking about, to understand their impact, on the game of football. And again, coming right here in the HBCU landscape. Steve McNair. Mario, man, I appreciate you so much for providing that insight. Nobody else could have given us those stories of Spike Lee and Charlie Ward, man. So again, I thank you so much for taking some time to join us on HBCU.
Man, brother, look here, man. It's definitely an honor. I appreciate it, man. Like you say, when you called me yesterday and wanted me to look over the info, I was more than happy to do it. And then when you came back and said, well, why don't you join me? Hey, man, look, I do that too. And whenever you want to do it, just, all you got, all of them. I'm just a phone call away, man. You already know that.
I appreciate you, man. There it is. HBCU Gridiron Giants, Steve McNair. Next week, we're going old school. Now, Steve may have been old school for some of y'all. That means I got a younger audience. If Walter was older, we're going older than that, man. We're going Deacon Jones next week. So be sure to hang out with us. HBCU Gridirons. Until next week, man. Love.
My kids wanted me to tell y'all to make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me across all social media platforms, like the videos, and share them. Did I forget anything?
And turn on the post notifications.
Y'all heard them. And also, visit Statement Tees, LLC.com and shop with us. That's Statement Tees. Every t-shirt you wear
makes a statement.